I hope you are enjoying your fraction review, and it's going well. There are a couple of homework problems that can be a little tricky, so I want to do them with you. Number 11 here says Annie's a great babysitter. She makes $6.50 an hour, but Dana's even better, and she makes 2.5 times more than Annie an hour. So it first says how much does Dana make? Well, we have to look at what Annie makes, and she makes $6.50 an hour. And Dana makes 2.5 times more. So we need to multiply this by 2.5 times more. So here's your fraction, 6.5 times 2.5. And then you need to make them into improper fractions. So we'll have 13 halves times 5 halves. We can't simplify beforehand, so we get 65 fourths. Now you need to make that into, or simplify it, sorry, and you would get, let's see how many fours are in there, 16 would be 64, and 1/4. Well, if we had that in money, 16 and 1/4 out of 4 would be $16.25. Now, you could have made both of these decimals and done 6.5 times 2.5 if that's easier for you. Then the second question says, how much more does Dana make than Annie per hour? Well, if she makes $16.25 and Annie makes $6.50, we need to subtract those. And you line up your decimals like we practiced yesterday and do your subtraction, and you should get $9.75. And the last question says, how many hours does Annie need to babysit before she can equal Dana's pay for 2 hours? So if Dana babysits for 2 hours, we need to do 16.25 times 2, okay? And she will end up making 32.50 Dana will make. So if she makes 32.50, we need to divide that to see how many hours Annie needs to. We need to divide it by her rate of $6.50 an hour. And when you divide that out, you will get that Annie needs to babysit for 5 hours. Because if we take 5 hours times $6.50, we will equal this $32.50. That's how you do number 11. Next I will do number 13. The next problem I want to help you with is number 13, and sometimes it's easier if you make it whole numbers just to estimate first. This case it says a dressmaker uses 1 7/8 yards of material to make one dress. How many dresses could she make if she had 30 yards? Well, if let's say the dressmaker uses, this is close to 2 yards of material. So if I had 30 yards, I would do 30 divided by 2 and get around 15 dresses. So I know my answer should be somewhere around 15. And so now I know, well, I divided 30 in 2, so I need to divide 30 divided by 1 7/8. Well, we know to divide, I'm going to make this 30 over 1, make this an improper fraction, 8 plus 1, or 8 times 1 is 8 plus 7 is 15/8. And I'm going to flip the second guy and multiply. Before doing that, I could cross simplify. This would be a 1, and this would be a 2, because 15 goes into 30 2 times. And then I get 16 over 1, which is 16 dresses. And I know from estimating at the beginning, my answer should be somewhere around 15. And 16 is right there, so I know that that is correct. The next two problems I want to help you with are 14 and 15. If we're going to find the average of these children, we need to first add all these fractions up and then divide by 5, since that's the number of kids we have. So first, to add all these, I need a common denominator of all of them. So 8 and 4, 4 and 8, I'm going to do 8. So then this would turn into 6/8. This would turn into 2/8. So now I can add, I'm going to leave Tom out for a second and go, I have 7/8 plus 6/8 is 13, plus 2 is 15, plus 1 is 16/8. And I have my whole numbers 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15, and 16/8. And I know this is 2, so I have 15 plus 2, which is 17. Now I can't forget about Tom. He's an additional 6 feet, which equals 23 feet. I have 23, and I have 5 kids, so I need to do 23 and divide that by 5. And when I do that, I'm going to have a decimal, and I will end up with 4 and 6/10 feet. Now, since we had all fractions, we should make this a fraction. So 4 and 6/10. And when I simplify that, I would get 4 and 3/5 feet for my average of the 5 children. Now for number 15, it says Sammy needs 3 2/3 cups of flour for a pie crust recipe. She only has half of that amount. How much flour does she have? Now you don't want to divide this by 2 or by 1/2 because then you'll end up multiplying by 2 when we flip the second guy. You want to go 1/2 of this, and that of, so if we have 1/2 of 3 2/3, remember that of sometimes tells us that we need to multiply. So I have 3 2/3. I'm going to multiply it by 1/2. I need to make this an improper fraction, so I have 11/3 times 1/2. I can't simplify, so I would end up with 11/6, which then is 1 5/6 cups. Okay, the last problem I want to help you with is number 19, and it says a baker uses 37.5 cups of flour to make 25 loaves of bread. Write a fraction that shows how many fourth cups of flour are used. So if we didn't have a whole cup to use and we had to use the small little fourth cups, how many would we need of those? So we actually need to split this into fourths. And when we split something up, we divide it. So we would do 37 1/2 divided by 1/4. We know when we divide, we need to make improper fractions. So I would do 75 halves divided by 1/4, and then we know that we have to flip the second guy and multiply. So I'd have 75 halves times 4/1. Now I can simplify over here, and then I would multiply across, and I would get 150/1, which we know would be 150. So we would need 150 1/4 cups.